Hi, Dr. Ken. Just going to talk about different stuff in Tableau that is helpful to know, helpful tips. First thing, we're going to talk about different pill types. So we're going to talk about the difference between dimension and a measure and discrete and continuous fields. So dimensions are like categories. Measures are usually like numbers, usually. You can tell the difference if you pull one out. And I'll take. So when you pull this out, it's blue. Blue is usually is an indicator that it's a discrete variable. Green is usually for continuous. And so you can always change it between continuous and discrete if you want. And then you see now that it's discrete, it turned blue. You change it back to continuous, it'll turn back green. And then usually measures always aggregate. So as you can see, as soon as we put in here, it turns to sum, and you can always change the aggregation to different stuff. And then what else? Usually measures are always like on the axis, it takes up the whole axis, but if you make it like discrete, it'll take up as much room as it takes. Let me see if I can make this smaller real quick by doing like count or something. You see like the axis like gets smaller because when it's just a discrete dimension, it just takes up as much room as it takes. It doesn't automatically take up the whole space, but continuous takes up the whole space. Like that. So yeah. And then when you filter, if you use a category to filter, I'm just doing random stuff here. It'll bring if it's discrete, it'll bring up like a list of all the stuff, all the categories within that variable, like right here. So you got all the countries, whatever. And if you filter using continuous, it'll show up different aggregations and like row and like stuff by rows. So that's the difference between the two. And the range of values that you want to use. There's a little bit different between the two. So yeah, that's basically like pill types. And then also if you color, let me go. I don't know. I'm just playing random stuff. But if you color by dimension, it would be like a color palette. And then if you color the graph by whatever a measure, it would be a gradient color. So yeah, so you also could tell the difference between the two, looking at how it colors a graph. Okay, so next, I'm gonna talk about like tables and stuff. I'm gonna talk about measure names, measure values, what it's for. And so, let's see if we make where is order. There we go. So we do a little text table, order priority. We do category. And rows. Sales for text. Yeah. So you go here, and then say you want to do, this might be the wrong one. Let's region one. Say you want to do like, make a text, but I'm trying to think how to do it. I don't know, but these are used to like name the stuff. So now you see you guys measure names, becomes a filter of measure values over here. So now like it shows that these are sales. Sometimes when you make tables, it doesn't show what it is, and that's what measure names and measure values come in. You usually have to use both. When one comes in, the other comes with it. So yeah, this is how you would get sales on here, because before you couldn't do it. Let's do another example. I think they had like region, or they did like, yeah, region here, and then let me take this out. And there's blank, so we're gonna put sales. Wrong one. So yeah, so here you got region, and then here you got all the sales, but it doesn't have sales as a header, so you don't really know what you're looking at. That's when you would bring in measure names. And measure names, measure values, and then from here you just take out what you don't want. So all we want is sales, so we just take out everything else. And so that's how you would get the header of sales. I think I just took it out by mistake. I did. Whatever. But yeah, so that's how you would do it. So now I'm gonna move on. Oh, you could also just drag. You just drag measure values onto the column, and it'll pop up automatically too. So that's a quick, easier way to do it probably. And then I'm gonna go to aggregation and granularity. Granularity just talk about how like this specificity of like a table or a graph kind of. So like here it talks about profit ratios and talks about a proper way of doing it. They want you to keep it aggregated and don't want you to use like just like not sum of profit and sales. Same thing. But here they just talked about keep the aggregation when you do stuff, especially when you drill down. Because if you don't use aggregation, it won't do it right. The aggregation adjusts based on how much you drill down. So if we just keep profit divided by sales without the sum, it'll look fine in the row ID, but as soon as you start grouping them together, like subcategory, it will be different because Tableau doesn't know that, can't recognize how like the granularity of your graph or table. So should keep the aggregation, because otherwise if you don't do aggregation, it'll sum up the ratios from row ID, which is not correct. But if you keep the aggregation in, like how Tableau has it, then it'll know the correct way to do it. That's basically all I did. And then it just showed you like the correct way to do it, to calculate profit ratio and stuff, and like how to do it in Tableau. That was the whole thing about that. Alright, next I'm gonna do a bump chart. So here's the bump chart we're trying to create. And so bump chart is kind of easy, so I'm just gonna click here. Where's the right click? Whatever, same thing. Click here, click table. I'm gonna do rank. I'm gonna click again. Compute using market. Click again, make it discrete. And then you're gonna click graph or line. Go here, line. And a quick little bump chart right here. And then for a waterfall chart, you're just gonna right click, hit running tool, make the mark Gantt, and you go here to assign profit, calculate field, and then you're gonna make it like a negative profit. Negative profit. All you're gonna do is put a minus sign in front of the profit. Okay. And then you're gonna drag it to size. And then you drag profit to color. and this is a waterfall chart. Thank you.